On the day of my wedding, I was sitting backstage getting ready when my fiancé's assistant suddenly handed me a marital agreement. Clause 1. No kissing below the bride's eyebrows without permission. Clause 2. The groom has allowed intimacy only once a month depending on the bride's mood, and each session must not exceed 10 minutes. Clause 3. At any time if the bride feels uncomfortable, the groom must immediately stop all actions. By the time I finished reading through the 100+ ridiculous clauses, my blood was boiling. I grabbed my phone and dialed my fiancé's number. "Miss Young," I said tightly, "care to explain Clause 98 to me? What the hell does it mean that no matter who the child's father is, the baby will still take your last name? Embarrassing as it is, this grand wedding today wasn't born out of love. It was an old family arrangement set up by our grandfathers. I had never even met the bride. All I knew was that she came from a powerful family in the capital, the Stana Dame. But never in my life did I imagine that the so-called rules of the elite could be this absurd. You are just a living husband," she said on the phone, her tone dripping with disdain. "Why would my child take your surname?" I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Sorry, Miss Young," I said firmly, "but I am not signing that agreement." The next moment their furious voice exploded through the speaker. "Trevor, I am already doing you a favor. I'd be grateful. I even agreed to marry you, and you dare talk back to me." I froze in disbelief. This was the elegant, well-bred young lady my grandfather spoke so highly of because right now, she sounded like anything but. I was about to argue with her, but she had already hung up on me. Then, the assistant standing beside me gave a mocking laugh, his eyes full of contempt. "Mr. Dalton, I'd advise you to sign it quietly. Otherwise, with Mrs. I doubt your life after marriage will be pleasant." Seeing my simple suit and my unassuming face, he clearly decided I wasn't worth his respect. Despite that, I met his gaze coldly. "If anyone wants to sign such a humiliating contract, be my guest, but I won't. Our family might not be as rich or powerful as the Youngs, but we were never the kind to be pushed around. So what if she was the capital's treasured princess? If that is the price of marrying her, then forget the wedding altogether." Resolved, I tore off the tuxedo jacket and turned to leave, but the assistant quickly stepped in front of me. "The ceremony is about to start, Mr. Dalton. Where exactly do you think you are going?" My fists clenched on instinct as I glared at him. "My legs are my own. I'll walk wherever the hell I want." "You gonna stop me yet?" Instead of backing down, he sneered even wider. "Mr. Dalton, I suggest you put that suit back on. To mess up today's ceremony, you'll be taking full responsibility," he warned, his eyes flashing with threat. But after years in the military academy, trained under the harshest instructor since I was 18, I wasn't someone who bowed to intimidation. That pride ran deep in my bones. Seeing his smug expression, my anger also flared hotter. And what if I decide to walk out anyway? The entire glamour team froze, gasping. "Holy crap," someone whispered. "This guy's got guts. He just talked back to Mr. Watts. Guess he doesn't plan on staying in the capital after this." Another muttered. "It is just an agreement. What is the big deal? He is really gonna offend Miss over that. He is digging his own grave." "Yeah, exactly. Marrying into the Youngs is every man's dream in this city. Who cares whose last name the kid takes?" The room buzzed with whispers and laughter. The more they talked, the smuggler, Mr. Watts, looked. "You hear that?" he sneered. "You are just some broke nobody with no power, no background, and you are talking about dignity? What a joke." Even so, their mockery barely fazed me. In fact, it almost made me laugh. Sure, the Youngs were one of the wealthiest families in the capital. No one could deny that. But when it came to legacy and influence, they were nothing compared to our family. Money meant nothing when it was stacked against real power. Money, mund. I leveled my gaze at him. "Mr. Botts, I'll warn you one last time. Step aside now or deal with the consequences." Maybe it was the edge in my tone or the energy that slipped through, but for a split second, his smirk faltered. You little punk, you dare threaten me." He fumbled for his phone, then threatened, "Fine, I'll call Miss right now." But I didn't feel anything. I simply shrugged, spreading my hands lazily. "Go ahead." A few minutes later, the dressing room door swung open with a loud bang. A tall young woman then swept in surrounded by bodyguards. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor. "Eric," she snapped, her voice crisp and cold. "You can't even handle something this simple. What am I paying you for?" I turned toward her and asked, "So you are Felicity Young, my fiancée?" Studied her carefully, and I'd admit she was stunning. Nearly 5'7". Her white wedding gown hugged her curves perfectly. If not for that icy look in her eyes, she could have passed for a goddess. "Miss Young," I said politely, "since it is our first time meeting, allow me to properly introduce myself. I am Trevor Dalton. I came from a military." "No need." She cut me off mid-sentence, flicking her hand dismissively. "I have zero interest in who you are." I had planned to introduce my background, maybe give her a reason to drop that arrogance. But apparently this woman wasn't the type to listen. The way she looked at me said it all in her eyes. I was just another gold-digging man. Her family's fortune. "Miss Young," I said calmly, "I understand this marriage was arranged by our parents and that we've never met before, but cutting me off before I can even finish a sentence, don't you think that is a little disrespectful?" Her face darkened, instantly disrespectful. She snorted. "Mr. Dalton, do yourself a favor and look in the mirror. Do you really think you deserve my respect?" She then gave a derisive laugh and tossed her hair. "Let me make one thing clear. If it weren't for my father forcing me to marry you, I wouldn't even glance your way. You are nothing but a useless freeloader who lives off women." By now, her voice had risen and she turned to address everyone in the room, making sure they all heard one more thing. "Don't even think that after the wedding you'll be part of my family without my permission. You don't get to touch me, not even once." Her words were sharp enough to slice through the air, but I met her glare without flinching, my tone flat and emotionless. If you hate marrying me that much, I said quietly, then why force yourself? Then after a brief pause, I added, why don't we just call off the wedding? Better for both of us. I genuinely meant it. No hostility, no ego, just a clean break. But she didn't see it. That way to her, my calmness was an insult. Her expression twisted with contempt as she snapped, you arrogant nobody. Don't play that hard to get game with me. I see right through you. Do you have any idea how many men in this city are dying to marry me? She proudly mentioned. I couldn't help but laugh, Miss Young. I don't really care what other men think. I just believe you and I aren't a good match. As for Mr. Young, don't worry. I'll explain everything to him myself. The moment I said that, the entire dressing room erupted in disbelief. Oh my god, did he just say he wants to call off the wedding with Theons? No way. Miss Young is the dream woman of every man in the capital and he is turning her down. If it were me, I'd be laughing in my sleep if I got to marry her. Their whispers grew louder, but I didn't care. In my world, marriage wasn't about social rank or family wealth. It was about compatibility. And clearly this, a proud, self-absorbed princess in front of me was not someone I could get along with. I could still recall how her father, Chairman Gregory Young of the Young Group, bowed and scraped in front of my grandfather not long ago. In less than half an hour, the man's pristine white shirt was drenched in sweat, terrified of saying the wrong thing. Probably still had no idea that the powerful alliance he begged for was about to be ruined by his own daughter. Trevor, Felicity's voice trembled with rage. I'll ask you one last time, are you really breaking off this engagement? I lifted my head, meeting her gaze head-on, my tone firm and unwavering. Absolutely. The room went dead silent. She clearly hadn't expected me to throw away the chance to marry into one of the most powerful families in the city. Her face flushed red, a mix of anger and humiliation. Before she could think of what to say, her assistants stepped forward. Don't worry, miss. You shouldn't be upset over trash like him. You are better off without some useless freeloader. Felicity hesitated for a moment, biting her lip, but the invitations have already been sent out. If I suddenly cancel the wedding, how am I supposed to show my face after this? Mr. Watts gave me a sly look before turning back to her and replying, Miss, do you remember Mr. North from the North Star Group? At the mention of that name, Felicity's eyes immediately lit up. Eric, you mean? He nodded eagerly, almost trembling with excitement. Yes, North Star just completed a major round of funding on Wall Street, and Mr. North, as the sole heir, is now worth tens of billions. This could be the perfect opportunity for the Youngs to break into the international market. Felicity lowered her head, her cheeks turning pink. But would he really marry me? Mr. Watts pounded his chest. Confidently, of course. In fact, I just got word that he is already on his way here. As I watched the scene unfold, everything finally clicked into place. So that ridiculous marital agreement wasn't from Felicity herself. It was his doing. The assistant's real goal wasn't protecting her dignity. It was securing a business marriage between the Youngs and North Star Group. Sadly, the poor woman didn't even realize she was being used like a pawnano. I said coldly, Miss Young, the engagement between us is over, but don't you think bringing in a new groom at the last minute is going a bit too far? Then I pointed straight at her assistant. I just want to know one thing. Whose idea was that marital agreement? Observing Felicity, she might be spoiled and arrogant, but she wasn't stupid enough to come up with something that twisted. There was clearly more going on beneath the surface. Felicity's eyes then flickered to the assistant at her side, and that little movement confirmed my suspicion. Whose idea was, has nothing to do with you, she snapped. A real man keeps his word. You want to go back on your words now? I raised an eyebrow and let out a short, cold laugh. I am not. I just think someone's been trying to drive a wedge between me and you, Miss Young. Then I turned toward Mr. Watts as I continued. Don't you think all this looks staged? I'd hope to appeal to a little common sense, at least for the sake of her father. But she wouldn't have it, Trevor, she snarled. I warn you, stop stirring trouble. You were the one swearing up and down you'd cut ties with me, she continued, venom thick in her tone. Why are you suddenly having second thoughts? Her words stung. Honestly, I felt a flicker of disappointment. The Youngs had ruled the market for years. How did they end up raising a daughter so shallow? Get out, Mr. Watts barked, leaning in with raw contempt. You are not welcome here. Beat it, I smiled faintly. Isn't that enough? You've gotten what you wanted. Why? Keep up the act. The ceremony is starting soon. Shouldn't your boss be here by now? Just then, the dressing room door was pushed open and then a man about my age swaggered in like he owned the place. Miss Young, will you marry me? He asked loudly. Mr. North, you are finally here, Mr. Watts excitedly said. As such, the room rose as one to greet him. The North Star heir. Or judging by that attitude, you must be the one really calling the shots, huh? He remarked. He stalked toward me with a predator's ease and complimented, Kid, gotta hand it to you. You are clever, but being too clever can backfire, he soon added, voice oily with amusement. He carried himself with more arrogance than even Mr. Watts. Even so, I just gave him a single cool look and then turned my gaze away from him being waiting a long time for today. Right? I said. He nodded, pity crossing his face, as if I'd been deprived of something. Mr. Dalton, I hear you refused to sign that marital agreement. What a shame. He tapped out a cigarette and smiled. You just lost your one shot at joining the upper class. I shrugged and let out a light, easy laugh. If that is what it takes, I am fine with walking away. He blinked in surprise. You are not angry at all. I practically stole your fiancé. I waved a hand, still smiling. Why would I? In fact, you did me a favor. If you hadn't stepped in, I'd have no idea how to explain any of this to Mr. Young. With every exchange, I kept control while the North Star heir's face had gone pale with frustration. Then get out of here before I make someone teach you a lesson, he snarled. I cocked an amused smile and waved him off. Mr. North, don't rush. Before I go, I want to call my grandfather. With that, pulled out my phone in front of everyone. Hello, Grandpa. It is me, Trevor. The moment he heard my voice, Grandpa chuckled warmly. Well, my dear grandson, what has got you calling at this hour? With that, have you met your future bride yet? What do you think of her? I glanced meaningfully at Miss Young across from Methan, gave a cold, mocking smile. Actually, Grandpa, that is exactly why I called. I was going to tell you that your future granddaughter-in-law has been stolen. As soon as those words left my mouth, Grandpa's furious voice practically exploded through the phone. What did you just say?